So I was looking through the Sifsei Chaim as he talks about the Beina Mitzarim, right, the 3 week period, and it's a long. I mean, he's probably has tens of pages, maybe 100 pages or more, just on the 3 weeks. Um, and this piece sort of falls out right in the middle. But I thought that there were some really unique perspectives and just some things I just wanted to share and see and go through them with you. So he's talking about the idea of hashras hashechina and the galus hashechina. Um, and interestingly, so a lot of it, having learned some of Michtav Mi'Eliyahu as well, a lot of the concepts are spoken about in broader terms by Rav Dessler, and then the Sifsei Chaim, Rav Chaim Friedlander, really expands on them. And he notes that this was actually, he says that this mimer that he has written here is built on the foundations of a sicha that Rav Dessler gave, but it was never written. It was not published in the Michtav Mi'Eliyahu. So this piece comes from Rav Dessler, like a lot of his Torah does, but this was not part of Michtav Mi'Eliyahu. And then the Sifsei Chaim really expands on it. Okay, so why don't we jump in? We'll see how far we can get into this. So the psukim from Yeshayahu that we read on every Taanis Tzibor, at Mincha time when we have the Haftarah, says, Kilo machshavosai machshavosechem velo darchechem drachai higavo shemayim me'eretz kin gavo drachai midarchechem umachshavosai machshavosechem. Right, so meaning that at least at a very simple level, that my thoughts, the thoughts of Hashem, are not the same thoughts of man, and my paths, my ways, are also not the ways of Hashem. They're much loftier. But what does that mean? So he says, Darchei Shemayim nivdalim midarchei Adam lo mishum amkosam bilvad. So he says, we tend to think about it that Hashem's thoughts are certainly have much more depth than ours do. But he says that's not the only way that they're different. Really, the essence of the way that Hashem approaches things is very different from our approach. So when we have somewhere to go, some objective to reach or a place to go, there's many paths, there's many different ways that we can get to whatever our destination is, whether it's a physical destination or something that we're trying to achieve. But the different paths that we have have boundaries, of rails. There's limitations to what we're to what we're able to do in order to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. And for us, the different paths that we're going to take are simply a means to the end. But Hashem, when he's putting together what the end state or what the target should be, but for him the paths, the means or the paths are not just a means to the objective. But the path itself is, right, what do we say? The journey is the destination, right? So there's something to the journey itself that Hashem creates for the world. So when Hashem puts things into place, so our job isn't only to try to understand what is the Ratzon Hashem, what does Hashem want from us, but we also have to try and understand why did we have to go down this direction, right? Whatever it is, why did I end up, with this job, or why did I end up having to take this highway, or what's in it that I'm supposed to learn from? Because everything that we do, that where Hashem sort of puts us into, there is something to that as well that we can learn from. There's a reason for it. The idea have vanazu not piktoelis ba'avodas Hashem, and through this understanding, through our trying to understand this, we have another toelis comes out of it, something that helps us with our own avodas Hashem. Lo rak me'etzim ratzon yisbarach, elegam medarche Hashem hotzas ritzono. Not only in terms of understanding the ritzono Hashem, meaning the ultimate objective, but also in understanding how does Hashem put things into place for us to achieve those goals that we're trying to achieve. Okay, Kisharoin Darche Shemayim Shal Hester Panim Galus v'Churban. So when we're seeing these paths that Hashem has put in place for us, that include Hester Panim Galus Churban Hari Milvachet Tzrichim Nizamik Bet Etzem Totzasa Hester. So not only do we have to think about the depths of what does this mean of the end result of Hester, of Hashem being hidden from us, the Galus, the Churban. But we also have to think about why specifically these types, these exiles that we had, and these Yisurim that we had to endure. And what are we supposed to learn, and what does Hashem want us to learn from those individual steps along the way? So now we can sort of see, going back to that Yeshayahu, and understand that what is the difference between Machshavosai, Machshavosechem, and Derachai, Derachechem, that there's two different things that Yeshayahu is telling us about in terms of how Hashem approaches the world and approaches how we should approach, right, trying to understand those. So now he says, okay, so Gimel Shave Shlave Hester Panim Tuchachas V'Yisurim Churma Mesa Mitash Siluk Tzadikim. He says there's three different levels, of Hester Panim. There is the start of just Tochachi Yisurim that we get when we're not doing what we're supposed to do. We get right. We there are difficulties that we endure. Then there's Churban Beis Hamikdash, and then there is the tzaddikim being taken away from us. Right, a lot has been talked about, I think, over the last couple of years, especially during COVID, when there's been so many, Talmidei Chacham and tzaddikim that have passed on just in this period of time, and a lot of that is we talk. You hear talk about what does that mean when tzaddikim are taken away. So let's see what he says. It says Chazal Amru in Chazal say in the Yalkut Shimoni in Yeshayahu. Yosef Malish Chiv V'Domich V'Solik Reb Yochanan Reb Shum Ben Levi Megmale Chesed Sholach Imam Yitzchak Psika. So what is this? What is it saying? He translates a little bit for us. Yosef Mamale was nifter. This person Yosef Mamale was had died. Ubo Rabbi Yochanan Reb Shum Ben Levi Lasos Lelevayas. So these two great Amoraim came. Rabbi Yochanan Reb Shum Ben Levi V'Neve Imam Yitzchak Psika. And along the Levaya also came this other person, Yitzchak Psika. Okay, so Kam Chadsa Baboile Mispar Alui, Kam Yitzchak Vishaske. So this altar, right? This older person came to give hesped for this Yosef Memali who had died, but this Yitzchak Psika stood up and told him, no, right? This is quieted him down. Amar. Kami align train or you say as Pesach Pumech. So what does that mean? Kam zokin echad lapsido ratzel Yitzchak Psika lashtiko. So as we said, this older person came up to give Hafsed, and Yitzchak Psika wanted to quiet him. Eich ata omer divrei Hafsed lifnei shnei gedolim elu Rabbi Yochanan Reb Ben Levi. Why did he want to quiet him? He just said, who are you to be giving hespedim in front of these two gedolim? Meaning maybe they should speak first. I'm not sure what his intention really was, but Amar lei Rabbi Yochanan shvake dahave gvar savuhu ba nesikra ba'asrei. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan li Yitzchak Psika. So Rabbi Yochanan says, no, sheyazavu she'oso zokin rotza sheyachabduhu bimkomo behischo nosel hazokin divrei hesped. But Rabbi Yochanan said, no, let him speak. He has something to tell. Let him speak. So all the iftar iluya of Amar kashahu silukin shot tzadikim lifnei misha Amar v'haya ha'olam me'ah tochachos chazar shtayim shebe Mishnah Torah churban beis hamikdash deilu betochachos ksiv v'hapela Hashem makosecha pelo echod churban beis hamikdash ksiv v'tered ploim shtei ploim אבל בסילוק משעות צדיקים כזיב, הנני יוסיף להפלי עשאה מזה, הפלה ופלה גמל פלואים. וכן כוסף למה ועבדה חכמה ובינה נבוnav תסתתר. So what is the hefsed that he is giving? So he stands up and he talks about the idea that there are three different these three different levels, these three different what he calls ploim, what we would say is wonders that Hashem that Hashem has meted out. So what are they? It says, he quotes three different psukim that in Devarim it says v'hifla Hashem es makusecha. When it's talking about the tochacha in is that Kisavo that he talks about the tochacha, I think, that it says that that when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, that Hashem will hit us makosecha. Hashem is makosecha. This is v'hifla Hashem is makosecha. So that's one pella. That's one thing that we get when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. There it's in plural. When it's talking about Erecha, when it's talking about the Korban Beis Hamikdash, pella is actually is plural. So shtei ploim, right? Aval b'silukim shel tzadikim, there it says, Hineni Yosef lahafli. I'm going to add on lahafli as amazeh hifla pella gimel ploim. So lahafli hifla pella. There are three different ploim. Kain kosov or kokach lama v'avda chachmas chachma ubina nevonav distaser. Marle Rabbi Yitzchak psika bericha din gavra bechelya. Rabbi Yochanan ilu shaske min hain havayin yadayin hana marganisa. So Rabbi Yochanan said, "Listen to this Torah that this elder gentleman is giving us. If you had quieted him down, Rabbi Yitzchak Psika, if you didn't let him tell his hesped, then we would have missed out on this this pearl of Torah." So Baruch Rabbi Yitzchak Psika v'Amar Rabbi Yochanan lule divrei hesped shel hazaken hahu minayin hainu yodim margalis zu. Right? How would we have known this pearl, this gem of a piece of Torah? And so the Sifsei Chaim says, "Hazaken hahu sider bedivrei hespedu gimel shlavim behester panim hester echad hester acher hester, but the call hester gadol hester shalafanov." And each level is greater than the level before it. So the first is klolos v'tochachos v'yisurim. First we have the klolos, the tochachos, the difficulties. Second is the churban beis hamikdash, and the third is misas tzadikim. V'tzarich lahavin ma'imar hamargli shahayis atmuna b'divrei hespedu shel hazakinahu. But we have to understand what exactly is hidden in this. Shekol kach hispo Rabbi Yochanan mehespedo. That what exactly was Rabbi Yochanan so I'm excited about? What made him stir so much that he said that there's such a margalis. Actually, Amar iluli divarav minayin hainu yodim margalis zu. What exactly was in it that he really said that if it hadn't been for this hesped, we wouldn't have known this incredible gem of Torah. So what is that? So let's take a look. So he says, Pella, Darchei Shemayim Hamechusos Me'asagas Adam. So Pella, Bir Marina Rabbeinu Ragon Rav Dessler, right? Rav Eliezer Dessler, who Davar Shetamo Mechuso Umustar Mivnei Adam. What is a Pella? It's something that the meaning behind it, the reason behind it is hidden, and it's covered, it's hidden from us. Ma Retzona Uma Mataraso Hashem Yisbarach. A Pella is something that we don't know exactly what Hashem's will is, what's his objective, why is he doing what he's doing. Umadua Noket B'derech Zu, and why this specific path? Kishein Mekayim Es HaTorah B'Kodesh Baruch Hu Notel B'Imanu Es Hashefa Hagashmi. that when we're not being Mekayim the Torah, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So Hashem takes from us the physical, what we need to survive. How does he do that? Because of through punishments, through suffering. Pella Hashem is makosechel, and that's the Pella that Hashem as he hits us, as we suffer those things. Who Pella in a muvan ta'amoshel hadavar madu noke b'derech zu. So why is it called a Pella? Because we don't know. Why is it that Hashem chooses that method for punishing us, for getting us to wake up? What exactly is it? What is the tikkun that's supposed to happen from it? Right? It's not just, I guess it's not just the idea of when we get mad at our kids and we say, well, you didn't do what we wanted you to do, so I'm going to take away your dessert. And it's not necessarily that what they did deserves the fact that they don't get dessert. It's just more of, it's sometimes, I guess, a bit more random or arbitrary. Amnam kesha Hashem yisbarach noket bishlav nosef shal hester al yedei churba misamitrav silu shchinaso harihu pelak kful. But when it comes to Chorba Misa Mikdash and removing his Shechina from our midst, as a result, then it's double, and you get ploim. Akusha Gidela Yoser Shahari Onchi Shemayim Him Boim Lorenu Lahachzirenu B'tshuva. And clearly, right? So this is even more so because, or the question becomes even more so because if the Onish is in order to wake us up and to get us to return, and do tshuva, so then how does it help to destroy the Beis Hamikdash? You're taking away our connection, our ability to connect to Hashem through the Shechina that rests there at the Beis Hamikdash. But then you go a step further, and he removes from us, from our presence, the tzaddikim around us. And even more so now, because who inspires us? How do we learn? All that comes from the tzaddikim. So how are we supposed to do better when the tzaddikim are taken away from us? So how does that? What exactly is the end goal of that, of taking away the tzaddikim? This isn't just, again, for naught that he does these things. It's to wake us up, to teach us. But the difficulty is, how are we supposed to learn the path, the way forward? How are we supposed to do tshuva? But if you're going to take away from us the way that we can learn, that last step of how we can learn by seeing the Yireh Shamayim of these tzaddikim and see how they live their lives and inspire us to do the same and to return. If you're going to take that away, how are we ever supposed to do tshuva? How are we supposed to learn how to do that or learn what we're supposed to be doing? So Hashra Shechina B'Lev Adam. So we have to understand, like, what is that? What are these three levels, and what is Hashem? Why is it that Hashem does it in this way? So today. So in order to really understand what this elder was trying to say with his hesped, so so let's start by understanding what is hashras hashchina. Ki galus haguf he totza mi galus shchina, because a physical exile is the result of the Shechina going into exile. So again, we'll go back to Rav Dessler. So he says, Rav Dessler, Hirchiv levar mahi ashwas ashchina. So Rosav al pi devar of zakano hasaba mekem bespedo al hagon Rav Yisrael Salanter zatzal. So this is coming from Rav Dessler, who heard it from the Alter from Kelm, who had actually, I think the Alter of Kelm was a close Talmud of Yisrael Salanter. So when Rav Yisrael Salanter died, this came from the hesped that he gave, that the Alter from Kelm gave. Okay. So the pasuk says, "Build for me a mikdash, and I will dwell amongst you." So Darshu Chazal b'socham b'soch kol echad mebnei Yisrael. So Chazal said, "What does it mean b'socham in all of you?" That Hashem will dwell within each one of us. Hashras hashechina hi belev ha'adam. That's really where Hashras hashechina is. It's actually in our hearts. But how do we do that? How do we achieve that? How do we get the Shechina to be inside of us? Halev, what does it mean? Halev hu mekor l'ritzonosav shel adam. I think we talked about this in previous weeks. What does it mean, lev? What do we mean by seichel? So we're going to get into that a little bit. So he says the lev, when we talk about the heart, words from the heart, or how you tell it from the heart, what does that mean? That is the source of our will, of our wishes, of our wants, of that's where they emanate from, is what we call the lev. And that is what navigates us in the different desires we have, I guess, to bring them to light. Now, what is the seichel? But the seichel is where we understand and where we gain an understanding, I guess. And when the heart, which is again the source of the will, of the wants of the person, but when it receives the or of Hashem Yisbarach, how? Through the Yediyas HaSeichel, right? Through learning, through growing, and that informs the leiv as to what you should really be wanting. Then, by doing so, by receiving this hashpah from Hashem, that helps the leiv to navigate its own wants and pleasures, to sort of, I guess, navigate in terms of what should I want? What should be my goals? What should be my interests? All of that should come from this outside influence of Hashem through the Hashras Shechina in your leiv. Okay, so the leiv becomes the source of all of your wants and wishes, and your mind, your seichel, is how you sort of understand how things work, the things that you actually intellectually can understand. So Madregas Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hashalom Kishemas Libos V'Sichlo Kilu Hashpa Hashem Yisbarach. So we're going to keep delving into this a little bit further. So Chazal Amru Pnei Moshe K'Pnei Chama U'Pnei Yoshua K'Pnei Lavana. Right, the Gemara in Bava Basra says that the face of Moshe was like the sun, and the face of Yoshua was like the moon. So kach v'kach gam bezor muzkar kama pa'anim madrigas Moshe ke shimsha, and the Zohar apparently refers to the madrig of Moshe over and over again as being like the sun. Okay, Klomer hu shimesh ketzinu hashpa l'shchina kedugemas hashemesh shemekor hashpa saor. So what does that mean? It means that just like the sun is the source of light, meaning that it produces the light. The sun is what produces the light and the warmth from us. That so too, Moshe Rabbeinu was like had a direct pipeline to the Shechina, in order so that he himself became like a source of light. He wasn't the source; he wasn't Hashem, but he was like he had a direct pipeline to Hashem, and therefore he becomes an extension through this and becomes like the sun. Okay, so Shimsha he. Hagdoras madrega Eliona b'yoser shel Moshe Rabbeinu. So the idea of being a son is a very lofty madrega. And that, how did he do that? Because his leiv and his seichel were together, were on parallel tracks. Lo haisa it's chaluka ben yidiyas haseichel lahashava el halev. There was no difference between what he was thinking, how he was intellectualizing, and what was going on, what his own wants and wishes were in his heart. Chazal Amr Shechina medaberes bitoch grono shel Moshe. Chazal say that the Shechina was able to speak from within the throat of Moshe. Moshe kasa pe al pe adaber bo v'lo kasuv a love ella bo. because it says the pasuk says that Hashem spoke mouth to mouth adaber bo. I spoke in him. What does it mean? In him, bo. It should have said to him, but it said in him. So it means besocho mamish, literally in him, literally in his throat. And this is from the Nefesh HaChaim, Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom. Kol kach chesed gedola madregas, or hashechina heira el tocho beofen yasher aspaklaria hameira. Mikoch goda madregaso zaka lahagia la madregas adam harishon kodem achet. Because of this, the Moshe was able to achieve the madrega of Adam Harishon before the Chet. So let's see if we can go a little bit further into this to understand this, where he's taking us. Amnam, the Matan Torah Piska Zumasam V'Cho Echad Misrael Zak Lehagila Madregas Adam Harishon Kodem Achet. But at the time of Matan Torah, we were all of Klal Yisrael was able to achieve that level. And because of that, we were able to receive the two crowns. Unfortunately, we weren't able to maintain that madrega, and after the Chet Egel, chazru madregas adam harishon she'achar Chet. So after the Chet Egel, then Klal Yisrael is at a madrega of Adam Harishon after the Chet. Achen ka'adam temusun, because like Adam Harishon. Right, there was that sort of death sentence upon them. Uba malachim and natlu mehem haksarim, and the malachim came and took away these crowns that they had. But Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom hu zocha b'kol haksarim shel Yisrael. But Moshe remained there, and he was zochet in all of the crowns of Yisrael. Klomer hu nishar b'medrega zu bechinas Adam Harishon kodem achet. But so Moshe Rabbeinu stayed at that level. Okay, so. All right, let's see. We've got a couple more minutes. Let's see if we can go through this, because he's also going to get to Yehoshua. And what does that mean that Yehoshua is like the moon? So Libosho Adam Harishon Kodem Achet Haya Zach Mezuchach Me'ashpas Hayetzahara. Hayetzahara hu chutz mimenu ulam la'achar chet etz hadas halev shuv lo haya zach b'betchila ukibo as hashpas hayetzer letoch b'tim yosah mi'ata mischalekas etzlo ha'avoda ben yedias hasechol. So what he explains is that what happened to Adam Harishon. So before the Chet, his heart and his mind, everything was sort of all in one, connected to Hashem. That's where he was. And the idea of a Yetzirah was totally external to him. He didn't have that pull, that drag that we do. But after the Chet, it became part of him. And he uses this pasuk, and Rav Dessler talks about this as well. What does the pasuk say? We say this in Aleinu. What does it mean when you say v'yadata hayom v'hashevosa elevecha ki Hashem, et cetera, et cetera, right? What does it mean that you'll know today, but you'll return it, you'll bring it into your heart. So if I know it, it seems like it's two different things that are going on, and that's what Rav Dessler and this is what the Sifsei Chaim are also explaining, is that this is the idea. V'yadata hayom is the seichel. V'hashevosa elevecha is that you have to bring all those desires, wants, wishes, everything that we have in our heart has to be pulled back to v'yadata hayom, to what you were thinking about in your seichel, meaning that intellectually you may say to yourself, yes, I know this is the right thing to do, the learning Torah mitzvahs, I know it's the right thing to do intellectually, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where your heart is, that's where your wants and your wishes and all that. And so there's two different things. You might understand something intellectually, but not really quite get it all the way down into your lave. So we'll have to stop here. But this is where he's taking us to, is to understand where we are. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get very far in this to really understand, to tie this back to what the what the three levels were in terms of in terms of what is Hashem's will when he's giving us Yisura, when he's destroying the Beis HaMikdash, etc. But really what it comes down to, what he's trying to get to, is that it all comes down to what's going on inside of us and what we can work on that way as well.